The radio crackled with static somewhere over the Pacific skies. Unidentified aircraft. "State your call sign," the U.S. Air Force pilot demanded. A deep, calm voice replied, steady, confident, almost haunting. "This is Ghost Rider, returning home." The control tower fell silent. The Air Force pilot froze. Ghost Rider? That call sign was retired years ago. After the mission, no one survived, but the man behind that voice was supposed to be dead. Jake Lawson wasn't a hero. Not anymore. Once, he was one of the best fighter pilots the Air Force had ever seen. Call sign Ghost Rider. He'd led impossible missions, saved lives in hostile skies, and earned medals he no longer displayed. But after a catastrophic crash that took his wife's life and nearly his own, Jake disappeared from the radar. Literally. He hung up his flight suit and picked up a simpler uniform, that of a commercial pilot. Now he flew tired businessmen and restless tourists across oceans. Not fighter jets into danger, but his real mission had changed, raising his 10-year-old son, Ethan. Ethan had his mother's quiet eyes and Jake's stubborn will. Every morning before school, he'd stand by the window to watch the airplanes take off. "Dad," he'd say, "do you miss flying the fast ones?" Jake would smile faintly. "Sometimes, buddy, but I got something faster now, you. You're growing too quick." Behind that smile, though, was pain, the guilt of the crash that took his wife, and the weight of knowing Ethan would never truly understand why his father walked away from everything he once loved. Jake worked hard. Double shifts, sometimes sleeping in his uniform just to make ends meet. But every night when he tucked Ethan in, he whispered, "Your mom would be proud of you." Life was quiet, until the night that changed everything. It started with a routine flight from Los Angeles to Tokyo. 300 passengers, clear skies, and a peaceful night. But mid-flight, his radar showed an unidentified object tailing them. No transponder, no ID, just a fast-moving blip closing in. He radioed air traffic control. "Control, this is Flight 709. I've got something moving at supersonic speed near my 6. Static. Then silence. Suddenly a flash, a sonic boom rattled the aircraft. Jake steadied his hands. The passengers screamed. Then came the voice over the emergency channel. "Flight 709, divert course. Military operation in progress." Jake's jaw tightened. The voice, the code, it wasn't standard procedure. Something deep in his gut told him this wasn't routine. He adjusted course, calming the passengers, doing what he'd always done best, stay calm under fire. But when the night ended, reports flooded in, unknown aircraft sighted, believed to be enemy drones testing U.S. air defenses. Jake didn't sleep that night. Something about that mission stirred old memories, the kind that never die, just wait for the right frequency to be heard again. And then, the next morning, a black SUV was waiting outside his house. A man in uniform stepped out, his face sharp and eyes colder than the wind. Captain Lawson. Or should I say Ghost Rider? Jake froze. That name hadn't been spoken in 10 years. "You've been off the grid long enough," the officer continued. "We need you back in the air." Jake laughed bitterly. "You need a pilot, you've got thousands." "Not like you," the officer said. "The enemy's flying tech that moves like ghosts, unpredictable, fast, invisible to radar. But one name terrifies them even now. Yours." Jake wanted to refuse. He wanted to tell them about Ethan, about how much he'd already lost. But when the officer slid a photo across the table, a satellite image of a drone headed straight for civilian routes, he knew he couldn't just walk away. He whispered, "If I do this, I want protection for my son." The officer nodded. "You have my word." Back in the cockpit of an F-22 after a decade, Jake's hands trembled as he felt the hum of the engines under him. The sky called to him again, cold, vast, beautiful. "Ghost Rider, this is command," came the radio. "You're cleared for engagement." For a moment, he didn't move. His reflection in the canopy showed a man aged by grief but sharpened by purpose. Then he whispered, "Copy that. Ghost Rider's airborne." The operation was swift, violent, and precise. Jake maneuvered his jet like a dancer, smooth, deadly controlled chaos in motion. But mid-combat, the enemy drone transmitted something unexpected, a signal on a hidden channel. Jake switched frequencies and heard a voice. Synthetic, broken, but unmistakably human in tone. "Hello, Ghost Rider." His pulse stopped. It was the same voice from the crash years ago, the AI pilot system that malfunctioned and killed his wife. The same one he thought was destroyed. Rage flared. He chased the drone through clouds, memories flashing like lightning. The night he lost her, the promise he made to Ethan, the battle became personal. Every turn, every flare was redemption written in smoke. Finally, he locked on target. "This is for her," he whispered, and fired. The sky erupted in light. Silence followed. Then static. "Ghost Rider, do you copy?" He smiled faintly. Mission complete. When he landed, his son was waiting, standing by the runway, tears in his eyes. Jake knelt down, still in his flight suit. Ethan ran into his arms. "Dad, you said you'd never fly like that again." Jake smiled softly. "Sometimes, buddy, you gotta face your ghosts to protect the people you love." Weeks later, the story hit the world. A retired single dad, once thought lost, saved thousands of lives in a secret sky battle no one was supposed to survive. But Jake didn't want fame. He just wanted one thing: to be a father who could finally look his son in the eyes and say, "I came home this time." This is Ghost Rider, signing off.